Good evening, family. It is so great to see all of the AME Zion family that's gathered on tonight. I am Reverend Kathy Henderson, and I have the privilege of standing in for our General Secretary, Reverend Patrick Barrett, on tonight. And I am excited to greet you for this, our fourth and final Thrive on Thursdays. That is the final one at this time, but stay tuned because you never know what great things are right on the horizon. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. So delighted to have each of you here on tonight. It has been a wonderful and blessed Christian Education Month. We have been celebrating. You have been celebrating in your local churches. You've been celebrating on your districts. And we are just grateful that you have been a part of what we have been doing as a connection, as we have engaged in this opportunity to grow and to strengthen the program of Christian education, the ministry that we have answered the call to, and it is exciting times. Also, want to give a big thanks to each of you who attended or watched the replay of our Connectional Christian Education celebration, where we heard a powerful word from the Bishop Brian R. Thompson. If you heard that word, go ahead and drop in the chat and just say, I heard it, I heard it, I got it. We were inspired and encouraged. Matter of fact, if there's been any way that you have been blessed and encouraged in Christian education, in the work of Christian education, if you've been strengthened, just go ahead and drop that in the chat. What you've had as a key takeaway or something that has just had you vibing on this month. That's right, Christian. I see it. I see it. I see you all are dropping. Yes, I heard it. I heard it. Yes, yes, yes. Just go ahead and continue to fill the chat up with your expressions of what you've heard or what you've experienced this month as we just continue in our thanks to God for blessing us in this work of Christian education. It's been a full month. As I shared, we have had these Thrive on Thursday. It has been a series, and we hope that you are following us on Facebook. If you're not, please follow us on Facebook. You'll see a reference to replays of these Thursdays on our Facebook page, the Christian Education Facebook page. We have had this month, we started out with a family meeting, just talking about the vision and the leadership of our Christian Education Department. We then talked about the urgency of now with Dr. John Banks. I was so stirred when I heard the information that he shared about youth trends and youth in the church and how we reach youth and how we engage them. And then last week we had seeing the future of education, making sure that we are all aware of the institutions and the educational facilities that the AME Zion Church has right within our midst. And that was an engaging discussion. You want to go back and get the replay so that you can hear about how we are being a blessing to youth and young adults as they are seeking education, and also so that you know about some of the issues that are facing just education in general. So go back and catch that right on up to tonight. And I'm so excited that we are having a feature in our own words, featuring our very own young people within the AME Zion Church. I'm going to say more about that in just a few moments as I prepare to turn it over for that discussion. But before we do that, I do want to remind you of a couple more items. We have a Christian education guide that was developed for this month, or developed, it was released for this celebration month, but, and it's in the chat. Oh yes, thank you. Miranda has dropped that YouTube link. Yes, I heard it. You better go ahead and keep it going. All right, so the YouTube link is in if you need to catch the replays. And then also the Christian Education Guide, which it provides information that can be utilized. We utilize it this month, but it's not just for this month. You can utilize it for the entire remainder of the year. This guide is full of articles, and it has an exploration of the theme that we focused on this month, but then also for the remainder of the year as we continue to feature Generation Now, securing our future tomorrow by seeing, that's SEE, by seeking, embracing, and engaging our future today. Right, you get it? We're going to go ahead and prepare tomorrow by seeing today, seeking, embracing, and engaging our future right now. And this, it really presents a challenge towards intentionality about seeing our youth right now, not waiting till tomorrow, but going ahead and seeking them out, embracing what it is that they have to offer, and engaging them in the life and work of our local churches and the connection. So we are excited about this, and there are articles from some of our Christian education department leaders, and we want you to check that out, even from our grant writers, some features on children, on youth, on young adults, on adults. There's something for everyone. So please utilize that resource for the remainder of the year. And again, the link for that guide is in the chat. Then I want to remind you, it is almost October. That means that when we blink a few more times, it'll be December. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And you know what happens in December? It is the Christian Education Winter Meeting. That is Zion's premier educational and evangelistic experience, and you do not want to miss our winter meeting. I have even just coined this our E3, our educational and evangelism experience, and we want you to be in attendance. We will be in Raleigh, North Carolina. All roads are leading to Raleigh. And if you have attended our winter meeting, I want to tell you that this is going to be a winter meeting that we are going to be engaging and learning in new ways than we have learned in the past, than we've engaged in the past. And we want you to be a part of what God is going to do in our midst as we gather together. The link to register is in the chat, and it is September the 28th, and it's still early registration until October the 1st. That's right. In celebration of Christian Education Month, we have our early bird special. So go ahead and register. You have just a couple more days that you can be a part of that early bird registration before the price goes up a little bit. So register for Truthville 23, the Great Exchange. Register by Sunday, October the 1st. And I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna have some exciting presenters. Follow our Facebook page because you're gonna see information drop on our presenters, and every registered person will receive a ticket for our concert that we are having, and our concert will be none other than Minister John P. Key. He's able. Hey, all right. So whatever your favorite John P. Key song is, I can't promise he's going to do it, but he's going to do something great. And we want you to be in the place to experience not just the concert, but everything that will be occurring at Truthville 23, the Great Exchange. We are going to be talking about how we secure our future by mastering transitions, by passing the baton. Oh, and another spoiler alert, there's going to be an amazing relay that's going to happen. That's right. We're going to have a game that's going to start on the first day that we arrive, where we are. If you've heard of the Amazing Race, there's going to be a setup all around the part of the city that we'll be in Raleigh, and it's going to be fun. There'll be something for everyone, just in case you don't want to run around in the places where we are. So if you aren't able to tell, I'm a little excited about Truthville 23. So please, please, please plan to attend All Roads Leading to Raleigh, December 2023. All right. Again, if you're just coming on, thank you for being with us. I am Reverend Kathy Henderson. I am the Connectional CED Director of Leadership Education, and I have the privilege of standing in for our General Secretary, Reverend Patrick Barrett. And he would have me to just thank you for all of you who have participated, and thank you for participated over the month in celebrating of Christian education. And thanks to those of you who have come on tonight. Amen, Rebel. You're right. We're blessed in the city. Hallelujah. All right. So tonight, everybody say tonight. Yes. All right. Speaking of our big feature, right? And our theme of seeing the people, seeking, embracing, and engaging. We are featuring the voices of our youth and young adults, and they're going to be able to tell you in their own voice a little bit about some of the challenges that they're facing, some of the solutions that they might offer. It's going to be a great conversation. And what I want to do is I want to invite you to really just open your ears and to open your heart to hear what they are sharing. And I want you to just keep in mind that what you hear today, it will provide you with information to speak with the youth in your area, right? Because everything we do, we want it to filter back into the local church. So it may stir a conversation with the youth in your area. And I also want you to keep in mind how you may have felt. If you're an adult on this Zoom tonight, think about how you felt when you were a youth and there was something that you wanted to share in the church about the church, and you either felt heard and you appreciated that, or you felt like you were not heard and like people were not willing to understand what you were saying. Just think about what that aroused. So whether you had a positive experience or a challenging experience as a young person trying to share in the church about the church, I want you to connect with that. And I want you to use that as your guide to tune in to the young people that we have tonight who will share from their hearts, all right, in their own words. So let's jump into it. I am excited that we have one of the co-chairs for our youth ministry commission. We have the Reverend Dharma Chisholm, and also serving along with her is Reverend Dr. Christopher Oliver. Tonight, though, Reverend Dharma Chisholm is on, and she will be hosting the conversation. She'll be leading the conversation with the youth that we are featuring tonight. And let's just sit back and enjoy as I turn it over to Reverend Chisholm. Let's go.
Good evening, everyone. I am indeed excited because I have a deep love and appreciation for God's people, but I'm just going to tell you, especially for the young people, they bring a certain energy and a certain dynamic that is needed for a time such as this. So on tonight, I echo what Reverend Kathy Henderson has shared. I want you to really listen to their hearts and to really show them that support that they need, because truth be told, we are receiving the support from our young people each time we do anything. And so on tonight, we are welcoming to the stage. And listen, let me go ahead and tell you this now. I said to them coming on, sometimes I can be, and I just want you all to know that I am excited about God. I am excited about the kingdom, and I am excited about intergenerational working together to build the kingdom. So I pray that if you're not excited, you get excited. And I'm already thanking God in advance for how we're going to be able to connect on tonight to be able to grow together, glow together, and continue to build God's kingdom. On tonight, we have some dynamic young people. They love God. I love God. What's wrong with you? We pray that you love God just as much. So we are welcoming to the stage on tonight. And I'm just going to go ahead and call him out first. This is Brother Andre Griffin. He is the ViCYC parliamentarian. If you can't unmute and clap, go ahead and throw some emojis up, because we are excited to be able to have him tell us what he's seeking. Let us know what he's embracing, and also let us know how we can engage our young people. So welcome to the stage on tonight, Brother Andre, and thank you for all that you do for God and the kingdom. Next, we have coming to the stage, Sister Alexandria Carson. Whoop, whoop. She is the Eastern Region Vice President. Go ahead, put some emojis up there. Put some hand clapping in the chat. Let's go ahead and welcome her, another dynamic leader doing great things for God and for the kingdom. And then we also have joining us tonight, Sister Cameron Covington, Southeastern Region Vice President. We're bringing her on, and we're just thanking God again for more contributions that are coming our way. Amen, amen, and amen. Now, I was looking for Arkia. She might be having some difficulties, but listen, she'll be joining us as well. Arkia Stroud, she is the ViCYC Chief of Staff. Yes, yes, the young people have a chief of staff too, right? We always hear that everywhere else, but we need to know that they are about the business of the kingdom, and they are learning and they are growing. And so they have officers as well. So I want to thank them right away. Yeah, I see that chief of staff. Yes. So we're going to start off on tonight just by allowing them to first answer a question that I'm sure is very important to all of us. All of us are being led by someone, right? We know that God is in total control, and he's put some people in control. And so on tonight, I think it's very important for us to start out with hearing from them as they tell us, what is leadership? In the eyes of young people, what defines leadership? I would say great leadership, but I already know that's what you're looking for. So what defines leadership? And we're going to start with Andre first and foremost. Just tell us in your own words, what defines leadership to you for your generation?
Yes, ma'am. So starting off, I just want to say thank you for having me on here. Thank you for having our cabinet on here. It's a real pleasure, in God's glory, of course. But I want to say that, first off, I want to say leadership, to my eyes, it shouldn't be a title. I feel like what makes a leader is the person, him or herself. I don't think that leadership, oh, you're a leader, I'm going to name you a leader. I don't think that should be a title. I feel like leadership and being a leader are definitely two different things. But I definitely do feel that leadership comes from within a person. It brings out the drive in people. It uplifts the spirit in that one person. And I feel like leadership is a necessity, not even just in the workplace, but also, in the church, because without leadership in the church, none of this would be happening right now. So I definitely feel that leadership, in my eyes, it's one of those feelings that come from within and is what makes up a person. To do good things in the world that we live in today, of course.
All right. And I wrote down some great things there. I was just looking at, listening to what you were stating, and you said it's not necessarily someone who has a title, right? But it's that drive that is coming. And I think that's important. And I'm sure as we continue, we're going to touch on that some more and get some more information from you on that. So thank you for sharing. Next, Alexandria, define leadership in your own words for us.
I believe, first off, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak to you, something that I do not take lightly. But leadership is, I feel, the way in which a person motivates their peers, right? Because you could be in a leadership position, but are your peers happy? Do they look up to you? Do they look for you for advice outside of the position that you hold? So just seeing how you can move people and change people's perspectives and understand where people are coming from and how that reflects on you as well. So just, I guess, as a whole, being a leader is just trying to relate to people and being able to do that efficiently and effectively, and just being a wholesome person at the end of the day. I think that has a lot to do with being a good leader and just being a leader in general.
Wow. You use some great adjectives there. And I am so appreciative. You said that, how a person motivates others. And not just that, but how they're able to change someone else's perspective. And I love that you said relate. they're able to relate to others. I think that's great. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Come on, Cameron, come on through. Tell us what leadership is in your own words.
So first and foremost, of course, as Alexandria and Andre said, I thank God for this opportunity, and I also thank you all for being obedient to God and selecting us to speak on this panel. I would define leadership. I agree with both perspectives, but to, I guess, further piggyback off of Andre's, I'd go so far as to also say, as he said, leadership, it's not a title or a position. I'd like to add on to that, and I'd like to say leadership is a character trait. And I wrote down my definition, and I defined it as taking charge and being a positive inspiration for voices who feel like they may not be heard.
Now, I want you to read that again slowly.
I said standing up and being a positive inspiration for voices who feel like they may not be heard.
Wow. 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 The three of you have just encompassed leadership, the things that you have stated, and it shows that you have not only thought about this, but it also shows that you've been watching some folk who are leaders who have displayed these characteristics in one way or another. And I'm just going to step out there and say, and I see those things, I hear those things coming from you, and I believe that they are in you. They are in you. So thank you all for sharing. And listen, I'm going to say this to those who have joined us on tonight. When they say something that resonates in your spirit, go ahead and use an emoji. Go ahead, put in the chat. Just cheer them on, because these are things that are very important for us to know that our young people embody. They know what it is. They know what they're looking for. So thank you all for sharing. And really, indeed, it is our honor and privilege to have you with us on tonight. So we're going to move right along. I want to know, and inquiring minds want to know, the believers want to know, what is it that you believe young people, why do you believe young people are leaving or don't feel connected in the church? I'm going to say that again. Why do you believe young people may be leaving, or what is causing them to feel disconnected in the church on today? And I don't want to just call you out. I want you to answer. If you're feeling it real quick, go ahead and jump out there. If not, I'll always start with the gentleman. All right. Andre's like, well, let me just step on up and unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
I was
you,
already
sir.
reaching for the unmute button. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So personally, I'm going to say this. This is a very, very broad topic, because there's honestly a plethora of reasons why kids in the church are leaving, and it's not as far as, moving, switching houses, switching churches. But I want to say that it's simply because we live in a new generation. And what I mean by that is a lot of kids nowadays, they feel that they want to do their own thing, and don't want to really pick up old habits. And I also do feel like it also relies on the leadership in the church and how the church is treating that individual or individual's family. So it varies in that field, but I really feel like it's just simply just change. And a lot of older people in the older generation, I feel just some can't really adapt to change, and they stick with the old habits, and that those old habits may cause that those kids or families in that matter to leave the church and develop their own habits and move their own way of life. But and not to say that it's not a bad thing that they're leaving the church, because they could be leaving the church and starting something new, their own spiritual journey, their own journey in general. Not to say that it's bad, but on some occasions it can be bad, and which could drive people away from God. And our job as in leadership roles is to pull people towards God, and really just humble themselves with the spirit of the Lord. So that's my take on it.
Thank you for sharing, Andre. And I'm jotting down notes, and I want to tell you that last portion that you said We've got to pull people to God. And I'm going to ask you just really quickly, when you say it's just change. And I'm taking from what you said that it might be the church's inability to change, but it could also be that individual or that individual's family's inability or unwillingness to change as well, right? And so that's good, because that's why we're here tonight. We need to know some specifics of those things and those adaptabilities that some people may not be, ready for. And thank you for saying also that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a negative thing, right? That's important for us to understand. All right, who wants to go next?
I don't mind going next.
All right, jump on in.
So I jotted down a couple reasons, but the one that I think I'll focus on speaking on is we are in a generation now where most of us were born to parents who were forced to go to church as youth, but in being forced to go to church, they weren't spiritually fed. So of course, in that, it becomes a thing where, as they're growing up, it becomes a mindset where I'm not going to do this to my kids when they get older. And, of course, the Bible says, teach a child in the way that you should have them grow, and they won't stray from it as they grow. But being a parent and being an adult who doesn't have that spiritual connection with God because you grew up shying away from it because it wasn't comfortable for you, you can't teach a child what you don't know.
Wow. Wow, that's good. That's good. That's good. And so that is something that we need to understand as well, that it may not necessarily just be your choice, right? Or someone who's younger than you, but still within this generation, because you can't bring yourself. Everyone doesn't drive, right?
Right.
And so if I don't have a way to get there, or if I don't have parents who are encouraging that, did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Then that would be a reason why you're not able to show up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. All right, Alexandria.
Yes, and I think piggybacking off what both of them said, I think when we ask that question, why are you leaving the church? We have to think about it in two entities. Are they leaving the church as an organization, or are they leaving church because they're losing faith? Right. And I think Cameron kind of spoke on the second part of that. So I feel like going off, are they leaving the church as an organization? Does that mean that us as the AME Zion Church, are we not adapting, kind of what Andre said, to the way youth learn now, to the way youth communicate now, to the way we interpret God in a sense? So how do we put out programs? How are we able to connect with youth on our level, right? I use this a lot, right? I think reaching out through Facebook is great. If we were like 40, respectfully. So like, do we move towards TikTok, and when do we move to that platform, and when do we start, right, shifting to our generation and the generations after ours? Because our next generation, while we might still be a little bit in touch, they're not going to have any idea. So I think as far as an organizational sense, and I feel like places are starting to incorporate that. How do we speak our language more, if that makes sense?
Yes, ma'am. It makes a lot of sense. Get me together, honey, on TikTok. I need you to teach me how to do a TikTok. It might not be the dance, but I'm putting that plea out there right now. There are a lot of pastors, myself included, we have no idea. Now I can go on TikTok, but do I know how to make a TikTok? No. And I think that's very important, because what all of you have expressed is that we need to communicate better, right? We need to communicate better. And this is starting a very important conversation that should move into action about us not only hearing, but actually listening. Because when you hear, I hear the words that are coming out of your mouth. But when I respond to you and say to you, help me, I'm letting you know that I'm not only hearing you, I am listening. So that's a place for us to start. And I'm going to just follow up with this question. So what is it that you need the generations before you? how do you all need us to show up? And when I say show up, I mean, what is it that you need us to do that will be more engaging? Yeah, how should we show up in order to engage you and build meaningful relationships? Because it's not just about TikTok. If none of us ever get on TikTok, how can the older generations, myself included, engage you all so that we can build more meaningful relationships and continue to build the kingdom together?
Okay, I think I'm gonna answer this the best I can, because that's such a straightforward question, and it's like it's not really a right or wrong answer to it.
It's not.
But for one of the answers, because there's plenty different answers to that, it is actually what you said: engaging with the youth, talking to them, learning how they think, how they work, how they move, what do they do on a day-to-day basis, what is it that you want, what is it that they want that they feel would help them learn better. Just talking to them, I feel like would actually, help that. And also, I feel like in service too, try your best, like leadership wise, to have the youth engaged in church, whether that's them being on the usher board, acolyting, being in the pulpit. I feel like that'll help them out. Yeah, it definitely helped me out. I feel like that's why I gravitate towards church and spiritual things, simply due to the fact that I grew up in church. My church took the time to really understand me, and especially my grandmother. She was a big part of that. She understood me and communicated my need to the church, and they provided for me. So that's my take on it.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That is very good. Thank you for all of that. All right. Who wants to share next?
I was just, oh, you want to
Go ahead, it's okay.
Okay. I mean, ditto to what Andre said, for real, because I think that a lot of older generational people feel as though the youth don't really want to learn more about the structure of church. So like talking to them about being on the steward board and the trustee board, and like having juniors of that board and whatever, and just understanding the more, I guess, kind of logistical side of things also really helps you feel more engaged and in a family, and then that expands to a spiritual connection with your church. Having that like foundation and understanding, I guess, the basics of what our church is built on, and not shying away from that, can be really impactful.
Wow. I am blown away by the responses. Go ahead, Cameron.
So in my response, I just simply say, for one, be about the business of the church rather than focusing on the fact that the church is a business. Which means focused on being more Christ-like, focusing on building your relationship with God, not following the religion, but building your relationship with God, guiding your youth to establishing a relationship with God. And I'd also say teach youth about the importance of the business of the church. So instead of just saying, oh, you need to join a choir, oh, you need to be a junior usher, oh, you should be a junior deaconess, things of that nature, teach us why those things are important. Because then if not, it becomes another situation where we're being pulled into something where, of course, granted, it's used for the building of God's kingdom, but we're not understanding the importance and the validity of that. And I'd also like to say, in doing that, respectfully, understand that youth are working with the older leadership and not for the older leadership. Because essentially in doing our work, really, we're all working for one main purpose. And again, that's the building of God's kingdom. So in teaching us about the business of the church, do it in a fashion where it's not belittling if we don't understand it. It's not oh, when I was little, my grandma had me doing this, so you're lucky I only have you doing this, and things of that nature. We're one body, so it should be working together, essentially.
Awesome. Awesome. I think, and you guys are saying respectfully, respectfully, respectfully. And I want to just tell you that I believe that all the things that you're saying are really good to those of us who are actually listening. You know what I'm saying? Because you're speaking very intelligently, you're articulating very well. And I'm thankful on tonight because it is important for us to understand, because out of everything everyone was saying, one of the most important lessons that I got was that we may be failing in providing the foundational information that you guys need to embrace some of the things that we love so much. And I think part of that is, and I can speak for me, I'm not speaking for everybody on here. I can just speak for me. I think that at times we can think that because families have been in a church for generations, that this is what I feel like I'm hearing from you all. So if I'm wrong, you just say you're wrong and get me together, right? But that sometimes there is an assumption that because you have been in the church all of your life, that you have been learning the foundation and the basics of the church. Is that correct for me to say that? Am I hearing that correctly? Okay. Okay. And I believe I can see where that is probably the case. And I think it is very important, just as you guys are articulating articulating that here on this platform, I would encourage you to share with your peers, to respectfully share these in the local church with the leadership as well, because it is incumbent upon us to make sure that you do have the foundation, that you do have the understanding. So thank you all for sharing that. I just wanted to say kudos on every response that you just gave, because we needed to hear those things. Mm-hmm.
If I briefly pick up a point that you just made.
Say that once again.
I was asking, do you mind if I briefly piggyback off a point that you just made?
I don't mind at all. No, ma'am, go right ahead.
So in your response to our responses, you brought up the point that we all made, which was lacking that essential foundation. And I'd like to briefly piggyback off of that. Actually, an example that I have of that was I did a workshop for a conference in my area. And the assignment that I was given was to discuss John Wesley and why his methods of discipleship were, I guess, considered done right. So at first it presented a bit of a challenge for me because, of course, I've done my research on what discipleship is, but not every youth has that. So it's like, I guess, as the older folk would say, putting the cart before the horse. So I feel like you can't necessarily just jump into doing something or focusing on one specific area if you don't have the basis for what that area is. So how exactly can I do a workshop on discipleship and my youth don't even know what discipleship are or discipleship? So yeah, it's just things like that. And then of course, with the way I started the workshop, I actually did a segment on discipleship. And then from there, we were able to go into the focal point, which was discussing somebody who represented it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. And again, we need to make sure that the teaching that is necessary for our young people to feel, not to feel, but to engage is going to come from giving that education that is needed, right? We can't, and that's something that all of us need. I can't tell people to go out and be a disciple without telling them what a disciple is and what a disciple does. So thank you for that example. Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to add right here on before we move on? Because I don't want you to feel like I'm pressing you to move on. All right, so then my follow-up question to that is, what are, give me one each, because I know y'all can probably give us about 12, if not more each, but I want you to give us one lesson that you believe you need to get from the older generation. And when I say one lesson, I'm not just talking about a spiritual lesson so much as a holistic lesson. What's something that, a lesson that you feel like you're not getting that can help you build your faith, but also navigate in your day-to-day life? What's something that you're missing that you believe that if, I'm going to break it down, I'm going to put it like this. If we were bold enough and transparent enough to tell you something that helped us at our age, at the age that you are now, that helped us, what is something you need us to give you to be transparent about that you might be going through right now? And no, it doesn't have to be churchy. Let us know that, because I think sometimes we're not transparent enough for you guys to come to us and say, hey, I'm going through this. You know, what does the Bible say about this? Or how am I supposed to build on my faith and still enjoy my life as a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, an 18-year-old?
Do you mind if I answer?
Oh, no, jump right in.
I would say I had the response, and then as soon as I unmuted, it just come back to me. I'll have it.
All right, that's cool. Andrea,
Okay.
you unmuting?
I see you already colored on me.
I got
I got you, love. So I'm gonna answer this the best I can, as I always do with these questions. I'm gonna say one thing that I would want you to say is to, and I feel like this is such a generic answer, but it like rings true, and is that to never lose faith, because and not to follow the flesh, because I going to school and everything like that, it can cause like a lot of like mishaps, a lot of distractions for kids my age and things of that, and especially because I go to college. I'm a college student. I go to A&T, Aggie Pride Nationwide, move aside. Yeah, you already know. So, and it can be like a lot of distractions and things of that nature that can, come between your faith and your walk with God. And I feel like I was, one of the lucky ones to continue faith. Even like during, COVID-19, I feel like that really like shut a lot of stuff down, especially churches and a lot of kids that weren't able to go to church and who grew up like going to church every single Sunday. You can do whatever you want Saturday night. You better be in that church on Sunday morning at 10. Okay. And I feel like since COVID, like a lot of things just shifted and kids kind of adapted to their own thing, and going back to school in the fall, I feel like people lost sight of faith. And I feel like that's one thing that I wish somebody would have told me, the older generation, to study the word, keep the word in your heart, because that's your token.
Andre, don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Don't lose faith about anything, right? And what does that mean to say, Andre, don't lose faith? That means at your at the hardest of times on a college campus, away from home, remember to read your word, and remember that you're not expected to be perfect, but you serve a perfect God that you can go to at all times. And that's a great reason for you never to lose faith. You won't ever be alone. And I'm saying that to you because guess what? What we have to realize is to tell you don't lose faith and to leave it at that, going back to what you guys said at the beginning, and yes, I'm saying this for us who are on here listening to you guys. We can't just leave it at don't lose faith, read the Bible. Right? You know what I'm saying? I want you to know that I was at Fisk University alone, had never been away from home that much in my life. And I had already decided when I get to campus, I will not be going to chapel. I lived in the church. That was my whole goal, that I was going to wake up Sunday morning and I'm not going to the chapel. Do you know where I was on Sunday morning after partying at Tennessee State University until about 3:30 in the morning? I was in chapel. And you just said something that most folk on here probably did not know, was that you are not losing your faith because you have freedom to be on a college campus and run wild. And I want to applaud you for that. Don't lose faith and keep telling others not to lose faith. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, who's going next? Y'all, I get excited when I'm hearing our young people talk like this, because sometimes we make assumptions that they're just wilding out. That's not always the case. All right, who's speaking up next?
I'm ready now.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
So I'd say what you all could really do for us, simply encourage us by letting us know it's okay to answer the call, and it's not going to be easy, but it's always worth it. So of course, you know, like how you said, it's further than just saying, oh, you need to read your word, oh, you need to be in church every Sunday, oh, there's Bible study every week, this, that, and the third. It goes deeper than that. Teach us the importance of why those things are imperative to our spiritual walk, and how that set us apart and ensure that we're in the world and not of it.
What does that mean, in the world and not of the world, Cameron?
In the world is in, we exist here, but we exude Christ, and we don't exude what's going on around us.
Come on, exude Christ. We exude Christ. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, Alexandria.
I think my question kind of relates to Andre's. Again, I'm always figuring back off you. But not so much losing faith, but how, I guess the lesson I would like to know is how to keep God a priority. Right? Because you may believe in him, trust in him, everything, but how do you keep him and your connection with church number one in your life, especially at this moment where we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do and taking those steps to achieve our dreams.
Did you all get that? Did you all hear that? I'm not touching it right now because that's a whole platform. Alexandria said how to keep God as the priority. Alexandria, let me go ahead and tell you right now, there are some folk on here much older than you who have not figured out yet how to keep God the priority. But can I just tell you that you've gotten to the fact that you are asking that question and seeking an understanding of how to keep God as a priority? You're already on your way to keeping God a priority, because it is important to you that he be a priority. So the fact that that God being a priority is important to you, watch this, is going to help you keep God a priority. So anything that you are about to do, anything that you are involved in, just say, where is God in this? That's basic, but can I tell you, it will help you to get to whatever point you need to get to with keeping him first or making him a priority, right? I think that is so profound that is what you're seeking, because that means that you are being intentional about making him a priority. So thank you so much for sharing. Andre, I see you. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So to kind of piggyback of what Alexandria said, I feel like a lot of people, and I can say some Christians, or a majority of Christians, are victim to this, is that and sometimes, and usually it would be at a young age, at an older age, you start to realize what your self-worth is and who God is and things of that. If you're, studying the word and a true disciple. But is that people tend to call on God when, like, using him as an as needed figure. Not to like get deep, but like I'm saying, if somebody's in trouble or somebody got in a car wreck, they're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pray now. I guess and they never pray. Instead of praying, they like, okay. And of course, our God is a gracious God, so of course he's gonna, you feel what I'm saying, answer your prayers or give you what you need in that time. But it's such a commonality in our generation, especially in our younger generation. Kids like to say, oh, I don't believe in God, and say they swear to God, and it's stuff like that that just kind of triggers. But all it takes, and I'm saying this for everybody on this call, all it takes is maybe 10 to maybe 15 minutes of either prayer or not even taking time out of your day to talk to God. That's it. That's all you need, 10 to 15 minutes. People go to church every Sunday. They do that for a reason, whether forced or just out of the sheer will that, God is great. But if you're one of those people that want to figure out, like Alexandria said, how to keep God a priority, all you need is 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even less, or more if you want to get a lot of stuff off your chest, to talk to God, really understand, meditate. And that's it. People go out here and, party and have fun and stuff like that. You mean to tell me you can't take 10 minutes out of your day to talk to God? That's all I had to say. I'm sorry.
Nah, don't be sorry about it. You just took us into the next thing, because I think it's important that that wisdom is shared, right? And so that's why I asked you about the lessons that you would like to receive. Andre, you just kind of went into a lesson that you would like to share, some wisdom that you would like to share, you know what I'm saying, that could build others up, right? And I think that is so very important, because as we share, as we are communicating, as we are building the kingdom together, it's important for us to understand that not only are we imparting our wisdom, but there is some knowledge that we can receive from your generation, because we don't know everything that is going on that you guys are having to go through right now, correct? I know it. Being an educator for over 26 years, there are some things that I did not know young people knew, because I didn't know those things at that time, right? So just as there is wisdom that we need to be sharing with you all, what is something that you would say to us? What is something that Andre, you said earlier that your grandmother communicated your needs to the church. I wrote that down. You said my grandmother communicated my needs to the church so that they could help me, right? So I want you to communicate, each of you communicate a need that you have or that young people have. I want you to be that voice. Communicate one need that young people have that the church needs to address. Only one. Don't try to slip in 2 or 3. One that you believe is very important, because you have to realize too that we sometimes can only take small doses. But you guys are giving us some profound things that we really and truly need to pay very close attention to and have a baseline starting point, right? So what's one need that you're going to communicate? You're in the place of somebody who has communicated for you. We need you now to communicate that to us as the church so that we can help young people navigate. I know, think on it for a moment. It's good. Think on it for a moment, because this is your time to let us know what we can do
May I
Oh,
respond?
yeah, Cameron, you can go. I was about to say you can go.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
he's being a gentleman. Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead. Thank you, Andre.
It sounds simple, but it goes pretty far. I'd say simply our need is to be seen. And I don't mean, seen as in tracking how many Sundays we show up, looking at the outfits, looking at the length of the skirt, the hole or two in the t-shirt, jeans instead of slacks. I mean, looking at us spiritually. And coming in tune with our walks without being invasive, seeing how you can assist us in our walks with Christ without trying to dictate our walk with Christ. And then seeing our need, just encourage us, let us know that God will push you through seasons, but he is not seasonal. With that being said, let us know that, it's going to get hard. It's not always going to be easy. Nobody ever said that choosing Christ made things easy. In fact, it might make things even harder. But yet and still, just like Andre said earlier, inspiring us to keep our faith. Teaching us to pray, like you said, imparting wisdom. And then, as I mentioned earlier, just guiding us and showing us to learn how to maintain our faith.
That was great. Cameron got in about 25 things, didn't she?
I'm sorry.
No. It's all right because all of them were great. You don't listen. You don't have to say you're sorry. It's no need for that. I'm saying that because it's all needed. We needed to hear it, right? We need to be seen. We need you to see us, not track how many Sundays we attend church. See me. You were very definitive on what it is to me. Some folk, it may not seem to appear that way, but the lesson that I got from that is that we are surface seers when it comes to young people. So the lesson that you're telling us is that we need to see the person, not look at the surface, not make assumptions, because when you say to me, see how you can assist me without dictating to me, that speaks volumes. Because if I never get to know you, if I never have a relationship with you, if I never try to figure out who Cameron is as a person, then I will only see you on the surface and I will dictate because I'll make assumptions about what you actually need and how I'm going to help you.
And someone commented and she said, see me the way God sees me. And yes, I'd like to piggyback off of that for the simple fact, he said, come as you are. He didn't mean come in a 3-piece suit. He wasn't saying come in a nice dress. He wasn't saying come in all white every Sunday. He was saying come with your heart and your mind set on me. And if everybody saw that, if everybody sought that internally, instead of just viewing and judging from the outside, I think we'd advance a lot further, a lot faster.
Yes, come on now. Cameron, I see you. I see you. I see all of you pushing to not only have a place for yourself, but to make sure that your peers have a place. And that the place is not a surface place, right? I love that you said, see how you can assist without dictating. And I'm gonna keep saying that because oftentimes we put things in place for you guys without asking you anything because we think we see you, but we haven't taken the time to even have a conversation to know what your needs are. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, here we go. Here we go. Andre, you were ready. I saw it. You passed the mic right on to Cameron.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I don't know who it was in the chat that said it, but I love you for it. I love everybody in the chat, but I love you for saying it. And she said I think she said relationships is a two-way street. That just that rings true because you can't do anything, without communication. And to kind of piggyback off what Ms. Covington said, is that, have them see us, and that kind of ties in with communication aspect, because communication necessarily doesn't have to mean listening. Like, listening doesn't have to have sound, is what I'm saying. And that's a lot to go into, but yeah, listening doesn't have to have sound. So communication is definitely a key point, and is what allows us, whether that's youth or being in a leadership role, to piggyback off the first question, is what we need. And I feel like that's just a necessity, not just in church, but throughout life. Communication is key, 110%.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. And listen, communication does not have to have sound. And you said that is something that is, you want to go into that. But I was looking at some of the faces like, now, wait a minute. What you mean? Communication does not have to have sound. Briefly, I'm just going to say this. Communication is indeed a two-way street. And if I am hearing you and I am listening, my response does not necessarily have to be a verbal response. My response can be in how I receive you in the future. My response can be simply, I think somebody just said, giving you a hug. My response can be bringing something that you expressed a need for and simply having it available for you. Just wanted to give some of those examples. And yeah, go ahead and shut me down, because what you really want to say is sometimes y'all talk too much. And I know you couldn't say that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that for you. Sometimes we talk too much and it seems like we're trying to talk you out of your own truth. Now, if that's somewhat in the thing, give me a thumbs up or something.
Not like it. No, that definitely.
You ain't want to say that.
No. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I'm gonna piggyback off what you said now. Now, I'm not. Look, sometimes it can take one individual to mess up your whole faith. Okay. It doesn't have to just be the church. It can take one individual to drive you back to what you want to do. All because whether that's, being forced into doing things, and it can backtrack somebody's faith.
Yes.
Without even, without them, the person even noticing. It's just like a lot of, and not to, how can I elucidate this? Not to pin a picture, but on an overall spectrum, like I'm gonna use an example. So a lot of Catholic people, right? A majority of them, like I know, they grew up Catholic, but ended up being atheists. Simply due to the fact that they were forced upon childhood to attend church, pray to Mary every single time that they had to, all because they were forced. So it could take one thing or one person to kind of backtrack that. And I feel like that's just one of those things that you kind of have to find yourself and really have a deep conversation with yourself and find out what you need and what you feel is a beneficiary to you in order for you to not lose faith.
Yes, thank you. Listen, one of the things that was significant for me growing up in my home church as a young person, the Reverend Carnell C. Thompson was the pastor of Myers Tabernacle AME Zion Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he always allowed us to express how we felt. And as the leader, those who worked with us took on the same characteristics of that leader. And so if we felt like somebody was talking too much and trying to tell us how we should feel, respectfully, we were able to say, that's not how I feel. You know what I'm saying? We were able to say, what you said hurt my feelings. And the people did not take it as a disrespect, right? Because what we were saying in essence is what you just said. You about to jack up my faith. And I need you to take several seats, back up and give me 50 feet because I want to keep my faith intact. And the language that I'm using, I want you all to know it is good. I didn't curse, but we have to keep it real that sometimes we're in error. It's not always the young people who are in error. Sometimes we can be in error too. And thank you for sharing that, because one person can mess up your faith, but the flip side is there is always somebody else that God will send to encourage you to stay the course. So I want you to always look for the one that encourages you to stay the course. Thank you for sharing, Andre. All right, Alexandria, we ready?
I would say is to notice the unnoticed. I think we talk a lot about like coming to our youth and communicating with them, but you know, once they walk away, how do they not like behave, but what are their mannerisms and how do we make them feel comfortable with what they want to do in the church? Like, don't go extra introverted kid to go speak up in front of a bunch of people. Like, what is that doing for them? Absolutely nothing. You're just creating anxiety and you're making it a space in which they don't feel safe in. So understanding, right, what are people's strengths, what are people's weaknesses, and once they walk away, like, how do they act? Are they more introverted? Are they more extroverted? Do they like being hugged? Do they like being kissed? Do they not? Like, so just making sure that we are making sure that our youth feel comfortable in their own skin in the place of church.
Wow.
May I?
Wow.
Briefly.
Yeah, go right ahead. And let me just say this, Cameron, you are so right. You are so right, Alexandra. That is a very important point. A very important point, because we want you to step out and we want you to build your faith, but we also have to respect you as a person. We have to see you, as Cameron said before, and listen, we have to respect boundaries too. And you're saying, if I'm not comfortable in that space, don't force it. And that's important. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cameron, were you trying to piggyback off of that?
Briefly,
Yes,
say I thoroughly agree, and I was actually going to pinpoint back to what Andre said. What I took from what he said when he said communication doesn't always have sound. It ties into what Alex said, which is basically hear the heart. So like she was saying, you know, there's plenty of youth who are introverted and feel more protected when they're, you know, to themselves. So become comfortable with that. Comfortability with people who do not operate like you is a big thing in the church, and that's how everybody, you know, does become comfortable with one another, which does, like she said, tie into respecting boundaries. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there a little bit.
thank you. And thank you for those lessons. When I was growing up, we were told when you are asked to do something in church, you never say no. Andrea's like, that's still happening. That's still happening. And it kind of, for some of my peers, I did realize that it made them very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. They were not comfortable speaking in front of people. I was not necessarily comfortable singing in front of people. And I think that we have to remember that the church should be a safe place. The church should be a safe place. Alexandria?
And with that, I think it's important to understand no is a full sentence. I don't need to give you an explanation as to why I don't want to do something. And I think that's important to understand. Yep, that's it.
Now, Alexandria, let me tell you something. I can't see everybody right now on this screen, but some people cringed When you said no is a complete sentence and you should not have to give them an explanation, that has not typically been our culture, has it? It's been that if you are a young person and you're at the church and I tell you that you're going to do X, Y, Z, that you can't tell me no without explaining, right? I'm saying today that we have to understand that we're not still living in times where everybody in the church was still being raised the same way. See, at the time that I was being raised, all of the young people that were being raised and went to church with me, our families were saying the same thing. If they ask you to do something in church, you do it. That goes back to the earlier question where Cameron responded that there are some young people whose parents are not churched. Right? So there is some different language happening in our homes. Therefore, there's different language and different things that are being stated in the church and how people are going to receive them, right? I just want to tell you, thank you so much for that. And I'm going to say it, no is a complete sentence. And I think that we have to respect that. But you guys have been saying all night, respectfully, and I'm going to say to you, while you might not want to, and to all of us, while we might not feel like we owe an explanation, we need to just be respectful when we respond. I can say, no, I prefer not to do that. I don't feel comfortable with that. Now, if it's going past that, go and find your parent. Go and find your parent so you can keep it respectful, right? But thank you all so very much. And I'm checking the time. And yes, we were there. I was looking, I was so caught up in the responses that we were getting. It was just like taking me over. And I didn't want to turn this over to Reverend Henderson, because I think that they pretty much kind of answered it, because I wanted to know how we could bring balance to the church. But earlier, some of the responses said so, by us making sure that we are inclusive in our worship experience, and training, right? But if there is anything else, I do want to give you your 30 seconds to end with telling us how we could create balance in our worship experience. Are we good for that, Reverend Henderson? Okay, 30 seconds each. Now I'm gonna be the timekeeper. What would a worship experience look like for you that has balance? That means it's serving everyone. Everyone is able to engage because there is something for everybody. They like, well, I don't know.
I can go first.
Go ahead, Alexandria.
I think when we talk about balance, it's kind of almost too simple in a way, because I think you just go to the basics, right? You can have your anthems, and then you could have the gospel choir, and then you could just have that balance of having technology incorporated and having it still be in the old church building. And I think when we get to the part of like sermons per se, just finding a way to relate your topic to what youth are seeing in the world and what youth are experiencing. And that's all we really kind of need. It's not that hard, respectfully.
Excellent. Throw the title of a song in there or something, or throw some type of experience that just happened that youth are involved in. Use that as an analogy throughout that same sermon, and we can keep your attention. Can we do that? She like, something like that. Gotcha. Who wants to go next with your 30 seconds?
I'll take my 30 seconds.
All right.
So my response actually piggybacks off something that you said before the call even started. And what you said was church should be educational, but it shouldn't only be educational, it should also be fun. And I don't mean, playing games in the middle of service, but church would be more fun if, leadership of the church listened to their youth. So by that, I mean, pretty much like Alex just said, take into consideration things that we have going on in the world, take into consideration what spiritual journeys may look like for us. And just, yeah, like she said, being more inclusive.
All right. We back to you, A&T, Aggie, Andre.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I may go a little over, but I'm not gonna go all the way over. I got you. I promise. Okay, so as Alexandria said, she said it perfectly. Sermon. But for me, I always need a prayer all the time. Every single service, I need a prayer. Choirs choiring and stuff like that. The only thing that I will say that I feel like it's with every church, no matter what, that I feel like that we need to change is judging, like being judgmental towards others. Because church folk can talk, okay? Church folk can talk, and it can get around, and it can get around. And I feel like that's one of the things that I feel is what also drives people away from, faith and stuff like that. So I feel like working on having the church being a judge-free, come at your own, come as you are place. If it's like that, that will be a perfect service. That's to me, in my eyes. But yeah.
All right, Andre, you and I gonna talk offline a little bit more about that. Because I'm like, where's the balance for church? He said judge free. It needs to be a judge free zone. And I certainly agree with you. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. I want to say again to each of you, I know this has been amazing for me. Yeah, I have sheets and sheets and sheets of notes. Let me just tell you that right now. I want to thank you all for your transparency. I want to thank you for your boldness. And I want to thank you for being leaders in the kingdom, It's very important. I know we're going over time. We've gone over time, but I appreciate this.
I have a couple of questions that were in the chat, Reverend Chisholm.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we could have the youth answer this question, get back to it. How do you feel about inviting your friends to the AME Zion Church? Do you think this is a place they can strive in their spiritual growth? Whoever wants to answer, go ahead and jump in.
Woo, okay, does it Alex, Cam, y'all want to go first? Because it's gonna take
Honestly, for me, it depends on the church. Like I have a number of churches where I can say, this pastor, he or she is very thorough. They connect with the youth. They make sure that we're heard and understood. Then there's other churches where it's just like nothing but business. Not the business of, operating in Christ. It's the business of making sure this happens on the program and making sure this protocol is followed and things of that nature. So I don't mind bringing friends to the church, and I have, so long as it's about church.
All right, thank you. Any other? Alexandria, Andre, have a comment you'd like to share?
Alex, you can go. I'm waiting on you, love.
I mean, okay, so I think it just depends on the type of friends you have, because you can't bring everybody to church. I mean, you can, but like, so for me, it's more about, do I feel that you would gain something out of this experience? Would you feel comfortable here? I say this because I go to a PWI, so I have a lot of white friends, and that's just that, and we'll leave that there. But I think, like Andre said, I think it just definitely depends on which church you would bring them to, or which conference you would bring them to, like Midwinter. If that was in New York, I would round everybody up. But I just think that depends on a day-to-day. Like, I think we need to focus first on how do we reach our youth and how do we make those shifts, like we've said previously during this whole conversation. And then I think from once the church starts making those changes, then I would probably be more susceptible to bringing my friends to church.
Respectfully, thank you. Yes, Andre.
So to piggyback back off of what they both said, I'm gonna say yes. I definitely would bring my friends to my church. But off of what Alex said, a specific like few, because not I don't agree with everybody can go to church, because a lot of people just don't have any home training and just don't know how to sit in service, especially, people who like to like move around a lot and, gotta sit there and listen. I don't know. I personally agree to disagree. I just can't bring any and everybody to church. But it just depends on the person and how their spiritual beliefs are and what they want to work towards. And if their benefits and beliefs align with what my church has for them, oh, come on, we'll be here next Sunday. It's fine.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is someone placed in the chat. I hope that you all will take time to go back and read the chat and to hear the way that people were encouraging you and showing their appreciation for you all being honest, for being transparent, for speaking your experience as it has been. Someone earlier on, they were thanking you all for, the respectfully. So saying what you need to say, but saying it in a way that makes it palatable to be heard. And you all are a true example that you can say what you need to say. And that you can say it honestly and truthfully. You can even be raw with it, and it can still be respectful. Because what I sensed from you all is that you all care about this church, the AME Zion Church, and you care about the experience that young people are having in the church. And apparently, from you all's words, it matters to you all because you have an authentic relationship with God, our Father, who loves us all and invites us in. So thank you so much. Again, more comments are being shared. Please make sure that you all check the chat to hear how we are all cheering you on and appreciating your words. And thank you for your leadership and for serving as officers. I hope that everyone who is on the Zoom tonight, that you will share with the youth in your area. And if they were not on to hear this, to let them hear how the youth leaders of the AME Zion Church are representing them and are speaking and sharing some of the same sentiments that they may have. And also remind the young people in your churches and in your area that they have a resource right within their youth leadership to be heard. So please connect them with ViCYC and those local officers, and make sure that they are a part of expressing themselves and elevating their voice in the church respectfully. Okay, I love that. I also want to highlight. I want to shout out a couple of people. But before I say that, one of the big things, I'm not going to dare try to go back. Everyone needs to listen to this. It is being recorded. The link will be on the Facebook page. And I heard you, Alexandria. We maybe need to have a TikTok pointing people to the video as well. I heard you loud and clear. A link will be on the Facebook page to connect with the YouTube channel where this will be uploaded. So you will be able to hear this and to share it with other people in your area. So please follow us on Facebook until we come up with another avenue of sharing. But when they talked about the why, and that's really just the one of the two things that I wanted to pull out is this whole idea about why. And I think Andre spoke about telling. He didn't say these words, but telling and teaching. And the thing is, not. They don't want us to just tell them, but they want us to teach them. And so teaching goes beyond the words that we say, but it's actually what we show them. And we need to, as adults and as older generations, we need to be aware that our young people are not just listening to our words, but they're also looking at what we do. And I heard you, Andre, and what you did not say about that, and that you all are watching us, and there's some dissonance between some of the things that we're saying and some of the things that we're doing. That was very important. And then I also wanted to comment on listening does not always require sound. And at my church, we've taught this concept that we can see with our ears and we can hear with our eyes. And that's what that really means, that listening does not require sound, is because I can see you and your nonverbal communication, looking in your eyes. If you can tell me with your mouth that you're great, but your eyes can be telling me something else. So I can see, I can hear you when I see you. And I can also see you when I hear you, because I can hear something in your voice. I can hear something in your nonverbal that shows me something. So we can both see with our ears and hear with our eyes. It's both ways. God has made us amazing like that. So thank you for elevating that, Andre. Again, so many nuggets. I would not dare try to call out and repeat everything that they've said, because they said it so well in their own words. So please go back and listen to the replay. Thank you for our youth leaders. And just a couple more, yep, hands are being clapped, the hearts are being shared. Go back and check this chat out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Reverend Jarma Chisholm, who is the co-chair for our youth commission, youth ministry commission. I'm so grateful for the work that you are doing. I want to shout out Aaron Harris. Aaron Harris, I don't know who you are, but your comments have been on fleek. And listen, thank you so much for the way that you have cheered on our panel on today. So thank you, Aaron. Also want to call out Lashika, I hope I'm saying your name right, Gaston. Same thing, on point, and appreciate how you all have shared in the chat. And then we want to also recognize one of our leaders within Christian Ed with our children and with Barrack Children's Camp at winter meeting, Lady Ravel King, all in the comments. Thank you so much, Lady King. And I called out those three people because your comments were just so loud and consistent in a beautiful way, and just want to thank you. And thank you to everyone who commented, who shared an emoji, who might be texting and encouraging these young people. Thank you for showing up. Thank you all so much for your participation over the last several Thursdays, for our Thrive on Thursdays in celebration of Christian education during this month of September. I want to thank you again for the local celebrations that you've had, Christian Education Sunday, no matter what Sunday you celebrated it on. I want to remind you again that there is a resource that is available, a resource guide that is not just for this month, but will take you through the remainder of this year. From in their own words, our youth said they want you to see them. And how about that is our theme, seeing, right? We're seeing the future today, and see, S-E-E, meaning we're seeking, we're embracing, and we're engaging. And listen, before you even break it down in an acronym, you have to first visually see. And then once I see you and I can acknowledge you, then I can seek you, then I can embrace you, and then I can engage you. So in their own words, thank you, Miranda, already dropped the link for the YouTube where this will be uploaded. Let's continue to see, let's seek, let's embrace, and let's engage our generation now, right now. These are our current leaders, and they're going to take us into into the future as leaders. So let's see them now, like really see them, and then let's seek, embrace, and engage them in the work of our local church. Well, friends, family, it's that time to close it out. Please, yes, now is the time Zion shall thrive. Yes, indeed, you are so right. Zion will thrive, because Zion is the church of the living God, and we will thrive. Please make sure that you register for Truthville. If you think that this was something, this is what's going to be going on for 3 days as we gather in Raleigh, North Carolina. get in on the early bird and register before Sunday to get the early bird price. It goes up after that. So get in, get in, get in. Also want to say thanks to all of our CED staff, the connectional staff, the Episcopal leaders, everyone in every rank and file that has anything to do with CED. We thank you. Thank you to pastors. Thank you to everyone who has supported this time. And again, I am Kathy Henderson. I'm the Connectional Director of Leadership Education. And it was my privilege to be able to stand in for our General Secretary, Reverend Patrick Barrett. And on his behalf, I thank you so much for the work and the support that you all have done for Christian education. So we'll see you soon. And check out the replay. God bless you all and have a wonderful night. You know, I feel like I should just pray, right? So Father, we thank you. We thank you for all that our ears have heard and our eyes have seen, and even what our eyes have heard and our ears have seen. We thank you for it all. We thank you for these young people and the young people that are throughout the AME Zion Church. God, we thank you for their voices being elevated. We thank you for opening our eyes to see them. We thank you for their current contributions and for every contribution that is to come. God, we acknowledge that this is your church and that you have a work for every one of us to do. Help us to know what it is and to get in that place and to get it done, that you would be glorified, that the people would be edified, that we would all become credible and committed Christian disciples who are growing in you and letting our light shine before men, that they will see our good works and glorify you, our Father. We bless you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Have a wonderful night. Blessings, blessings, blessings to you all. Thank you, young people.